Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day to every one of you. We are here again, Transformation Team from Cape Town, South Africa. I am your host, Olutosin Adebowale, and with me is my colleague, Moses Adzi from Great Zim. Today we are with our icon. I always introduce her as our mother, their mother, their mother. We are with Ntombi Nyathi. She was our director in Cape Town office of training for transformation in South Africa. We have been trying to get her to pin her down so that we can learn from her. I am privileged to learn from her feet. It changed my life, and I have chosen this life forever and ever. This afternoon from Lagos, Nigeria, I am introducing to you our Mama Ntombi. Today we are going to learn from her. It is a privilege. It is an honor, a lifetime honor to be in front of her to ask questions, life transforming questions. And I know we are going to get life global transforming answers. Please, you are welcome. And I want you to take your pen and your paper and write down. Because today we are going to learn. Good afternoon, Mama. It is an honor to be in your presence.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Bonani. Maskati. I'm forgetting the other languages, but I've gone this far. It is a privilege and a blessing for me to find a space to share my voice, my soul, and my being with all of you. Thank you, Ruth. And thank you, Moses. Forever thanks to Training for Transformation.
Thank you, Ma. Today we are going to dive in straight. We know you because you are our mother. But many people do not. Can you please, Ma, tell us a bit about your background for those who are meeting you for the first time?
I was born in a faith family. I grew up a child of faith. My defining moments as a child was when I was with what they call in Christianity a Brownie. Brownies were formed for young girls to learn to be people of service, to be people that are compassionate, to be people that can make someone wipe someone's tears. So as a Brownie, I used to go into the village. We were asked to look for an old woman or person whom we would identify with as the one that we would serve as Brownies. So what that meant was that after Sunday service, or even before, or even the day before Sunday, you go to your grandma's home. You ask her what she wants. Even when you go there, you go with firewood. And you go, Grandma, I brought you firewood. You take a can from her house, you go and fetch water. I brought you some water. And then you ask, what else can I do? And then the grandma would say, you wash my thing, you clean my house. And as a little girl, that spirit of service and compassion for another person, that was a really foundation of the person that I grew up to become. Having said that, I was born amongst all girls. So my grandmother was laughed at by other women. So you give birth to girls. This clan is buried. Who is going to grow the clan? And my grandmother just wanted to speak back to her friends. And then she said, she named me Ntombi Nyathi, which means my female daughters are all that I need. No, I don't need more, I don't need less. So that
Wow, this is amazing. It is my first time to hear this story. And I think we need this brownie back in Africa. I will start from my community. Ah, thank you. Ntombins are amazing. My daughters all like it. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Um, yes, ma'am. We are moving forward. Then, how, when, why did you join the TLT movement?
Still back to that brownie growing to be a girl guide. So in the girl guide, the motto of the girl guide was be prepared. And then the question is, what does being prepared mean? Which makes me to talk about TFT, but not TFT as you know, but that process of being prepared. For me, that started back when I was a Sunday school teacher. Then I was enjoying reading the scriptures with kids, memorizing verses, demonstrating what Tabitha did, demonstrating what Mary did, what Martha did, what Eve did, which was a way of transforming my way of being me, the way I saw the world then as a Sunday school teacher, and the way I continued to grow on those values of questioning my identity, my values, my relationships, and my practice. Most of them are informed by my faith, which was then strictly Christianity, because that's what I grew up with. But as I matured into life, one of the most significant experiences for me was when I was a brownie who knew how to save, to a girl guide whose motto was be prepared. And the question there is being prepared for what? Which is a key thing in training for transformation, to ask questions. So as a girl guide, being prepared for me meant that being able to articulate my identity. Who am I? My values. Why am I here? And how do I relate to myself and others? What do I offer? Not what I get. What do I offer? And how do I do it? Because this was the girl guide thing. You go camping, you get a campus. This was very strategic. I was the one who was always holding the campus with my group. So the food is buried maybe 5 kilometers away. So you go with your group, you have your pedometer, you have your navigator, who was me. That idea of being able to hold the compass, to focus, and to tell the group the direction to go were some of the pillars or layers that became part of my transformative journey. So I'm just going to take the defining moments. So I was telling you that then I was a civil servant in the government of Zimbabwe. And I worked with a woman whose skin was white. The most changing moments of experience with her for me was when we went to the village to meet with women and talk with women, because we were to design materials for women community activists who were called village community workers. So there we are in this village in the north of Zimbabwe where there's no electricity, where the water we used was from a running river. When we met the group first, they were a lot of men. And the women sat on their mat, digging the ground with their fingers, never looking up. And then when they were going to fetch water, this woman said to me, "Ntombi, we are going to fetch water." And I said to myself, fetching water when we have hired people to fetch water and to cook for us? It's not making sense. She said, "Get your bucket. We are going to the river. We are going to fetch water." So I took my bucket. We went to the river. We go to the river. The women started, you know how we undress in Africa? You undress and you become like the day you came out of your mother's womb. And these women undressed and jumped into the river to swim. And I was thinking, oh, there are these insects in the river, there are these worms. What are these women doing? And guess what? The so-called white woman undressed herself, to my most surprising moment, and jumped into the river. Then everybody cheered her up. And I said to myself, Kathy is pretending to be more black than me. I'm going to fix her. I'll leave her with her pretense. I'm not joining. I know there's so many insects and whatever in the mud. I don't want to get sick. So I sat there arrogantly. And then they just jumped and swam. Then I decided, maybe it makes sense. I undressed too and jumped into the water. Oh, that was the best thing I ever did in my life. Everybody cheered up, we ululated, we sang, we danced. And then the women started telling their stories while we were in the water. When I look at that now, some of those women have passed on. God be with them. May their souls be blessed. But those that are still alive, they are still our friends for life. So the reason why I am sharing this story, the transformative part of it is, how do we identify ourselves? With whom do we relate? What is the quality of relationships? Because when you say training for transformation, it's like somebody is being trained to transform, which is the direct opposite of transformation. My experience of and my attraction to training for transformation using this analogy is that it had to start with me. To realize that if I want to relate to people, I have to be where they are. It has to be contextual. It has to be about the human heart, what it is longing for, what it is questioning itself to become more. So for me, that analog of swimming, and from there, carrying water back to the venue, women talking. And when I went back to that community 10 years later, I found all the women in charge. They were the people that were chairing the meetings, and the men sat there quietly, and the women were not sitting on the mats. They were sitting on the chair. And I remember very well when the chief said, when you came, we told the women how to be women. We told the women what to do. We told women how to do it. So we shaped who they are, how they relate to us, and the things they did. But now, 10 years down the line, we have learned to shut our mouths, to listen, and to watch them fly and shape our community so profoundly. That was the chief. And that's the essence of training for transformation. How does the energy, the compassion inside of you reflect and project and lift you with the other? So there is really no training, but spaces of purposeful dialogue. This is what really attracted me when I look at it now. But before then, I think it was a process. I was simply curious. What is this all about? Looking at Anne Hope and Sally Timmel and the things I knew they were doing. But for me, again, the race thing was very strong in me. These white women, what do they think? I'm going to make them see that I am a black woman. And then Anne Hope was so humble. She would just say, oh, Ntombi, can we talk? Then sometimes I would go, and I say, yeah, we can talk. But I was having this race thing inside of me, the white woman. What can she tell me? But those conversations transformed my way of looking at her as a white woman, in the same way that I explained how my work colleague, Kathy, for me, was a white woman pretending to be black. So we carry these things inside of us and we don't talk about them. But for me, when I reflect, the issues around identity, around purpose, around values, around relationships are key in transformation. And that's the attraction for me. To see a human heart, a human person, how they relate to themselves, that makes it attractive for others to want to relate to them. That was really fundamental. That was my key attraction. I remember when I was talking to you, Ruth, when you came, there was this whole story that I'm not going to talk about. But I remember when you came to my window at midnight, you were crying. And that made me to get out of my room and to talk to you. That act of not saying, come back tomorrow, we can talk, but getting out of my bed, not talking to you through the window, getting out of my house, then I realized how compassionate you were. The struggles you were having with the Ogoni, working with the Ogoni widows. If you had not come to my window crying, I would not have known that. If I had not gotten out of my house to sit with you outside by my window, you would not see a mother in me. So the compassion, the being with people from where they are was another attraction for me in training for transformation. So I don't call it training, but conscientization dialogues that help people to claim their voice and to use the power of their voice to change themselves and lives for many. You are my testimony. That was a mouthful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't want you to stop. But we have many things to learn. So we have to move on. Now, what are the key insights from your experience from TFT, from working with
I think
TFT?
some of them I've underlined or summarized them at the end. But I'm a storyteller. So my dialogues always start with this story. So one of the stories that are key as insights to my transformative journey was when a priest of the parish, his name was Father Roger. So Anne Hope invited Father Roger to a process where we looked at women in the scriptures. And so he put pictures on the wall and summaries of each woman. So the woman that attracted me the most was Martha, the sister of Mary. For those who are not Christians, Martha was the sister of Mary, and Mary, they were sisters of Lazarus. You can check that in Google, they will tell you. So Martha was a woman of action. She made things happen. When she wanted things to happen, she was always busy. And then I really identified with Mary, with Martha, big time. I said, yeah, this is me. So when we were to describe who we are according to these scriptural women, I said to Father Roger, I am Martha. I get things done. I have set up organizations, and the organizations are doing well. And now I'm here at TFT. I have a role and I'm doing it so well. I make things happen. And then somebody talked about Mary. And then the question was, which woman would you want to grow inside of you? And then that's when I realized Mary, the woman who transcends, the woman who takes time to reflect, to question the deep meaning of life beyond the activism, the material evidence that you are. Then I realized, Mary is not here in me. And then I went to Anne Hope. After that, I said, Anne, how do I grow Mary inside of me? And then Anne didn't give me an answer, which is really rooted in the key insights of training for transformation. Nobody gives you an answer. You get asked, you have to ask questions and explore. You have to question things, why things are the way they are. How else can things be better than that? So for me, it was, why am I Martha? How can I become a spiritually transcending woman? And then Anne Hope said, come to our meetings. Come to our meetings and let's explore this Mary whom you say is missing in you. And that's when I started going to the Grail meetings. And in that process, I became hungry. I had a hunger for a spiritual identity beyond the religions that we say. I go to a mosque, I go to a synagogue, I go to a church, far too many to mention. I didn't want that because I had grown with that. Still, I was not the woman who sits to question my purpose of being in the world. So the Grail became a platform for my spiritual growth, which was a key insight in that transformation process, to realize that I am not whole until I can connect my identity, my purpose, my value, my soul with the sacredness of life. And hence, I would say discovering that development is spiritual work to restore hope, to restore dignity, was the pillar. For me, that was the foundation. It was fundamental. And then to that, as I grew into the leadership of these conscientization dialogues, then we had people of diverse faith in this space. I will just share with you another story. So we design this space, we take the Gita, we take the Torah, we take the Quran, we take the Holy Bible. So we put in the center. There was this young Christian woman who had never seen a Quran. So she jumps out of excitement. Ah, this is how the Quran looks like. She picks the Quran with excitement. And then there was a Muslim young woman, equally young. Hey, you evil woman, put it back. You will die. This is the centering of TFT. Now we have a conflict of religion perceptions. So I was with a woman called Adelina Mao from Kenya. So, end of the story, we talk to the girls. So the course goes on. We are evaluating the last phase, the first phase. And what these young women said was another key thing in terms of training for transformation insights. The Kenyan girl says, look, I thought I was defending my God. So I would not allow anybody to tamper with my God. And the Christian woman said, no, I was simply excited. So I was shocked when she told me I was evil and I would die. Well, what happened then when the Christian woman didn't come for the second phase, but the Muslim girl went back to the northern Kenya and approached the imams, the priests, and whoever was practicing faith. Said, come and let's work together. Let's resolve conflict in the village over these things. So they started at the school with the kids, the priest, the evangelist, the who. And when she came back, they already had started interreligious projects with women. And they were doing so well. So the key insights there for me in the process was that development work helps people to see, to be, and to do compassionate work beyond any boundaries because it is sacred. It is a restoration of hope, which is key in transformation. And also just questioning how you become so defensive of a process that should be nurturing life and claim it to be yours than to belong to a collective. So those are the key takeaways for me. And through that, I learned to drive the participants in TFT as a director. I learned to go to the mosque with the Muslims, take off my shoes and attend the khutbah. I went to the synagogue and attended the Sabbath. We ate such lovely food afterwards. Then, of course, I would go to the cathedral and dance my Holy Mary. But I was not feeling like I don't belong. All these sacred spaces became part of my spiritual journey to this day. I don't feel like when I meet people that are of diverse faith, I am lost. My last story, Maria Kapakapa. That is, if you are listening, Maria, I'm not offending anybody. I'm just throwing a joke because this happened when we were on an island called in Indonesia, in Western Papua. They were Christians, they were Muslims. And it was clear that they were divided on those lines. So we put everything aside to talk about the story of Abraham and his two wives and his two sons. So we had to take all the time. But at the end of that day, I remember one woman saying, "Oh, so we are siblings who have a rivalry." But from that, if we started with a Muslim prayer in the morning, we will end with a Christian prayer in the evening or any other. So the TFT insight is that it creates space for weaving and learning the sacredness of life beyond religious boundaries. Thank you.